direct to Sarah Jones and Doc's subject, Frank Hall. I want to thank you both for joining us in Sudbury for the Northern Ontario premiere. Both of you, how does it feel watching it with an audience, with a complete group of strangers?
I felt it. I actually cried. And I could feel the reverence in the room. And I'm really proud of whatever he did.
Yeah, I mean, every time I watch it, I cry. And it's just a whole other experience to be in an audience when they're watching it for the first time, and to feel the impact that it has. Yeah. I want to really thank you both for sharing, creating a piece which introduces us to the very exciting and expanding worldview of Frank Hall. Frank, your ideas and your way of acting in the world, it really had my mind exploding with views and ideas of physicality, creative identity, and most of all, possibility. We talk about that. As an able-bodied person, I've been indoctrinated to think about disability from the standpoint of restriction, of deficit. And the whole film does this. I think in a way, not only are you challenging that, but in a way you're kind of through the dance transmuting that whole narrative. And I just wondered, since we had you here, could you talk more about that discovery of disability aesthetic meaning more?
Well, I was born with my disability, so I haven't crossed over from the able-bodied realm to the disability realm. But I'd say being a dancer was the last thing that was on my list. I showed up at a gay bar on my knees. I meet some professional, sexy, hot dancers with the On My Own dance company at this, Tallulah's in Toronto, the Buddies and Bad, I think it was Buddies and Bad Times, some kind of thing. And then they invited me to their dance studio, which wasn't accessible, and we started exploring. And then out of that came a dance piece and a scholarship to train with the Cleveland Ballet. Then I met Marcy, and she balanced on a wheel. She was dancing so professionally, and I thought, there's my Baryshnikov. That's something to work towards, I suppose. And possibilities. It's the best way to describe possibilities when it comes to disability. I was working in a part of the Hamilton Fringe Festival. I was working with a group of people with complex disabilities, and we spent most of the budget just getting them there because they needed highly specialized transportation. And Elaine talks with her computer, and she says, "Do we really have to rehearse?" Because I had my director's cap on, my choreographer's cap on, ready to give stage direction, had this big plan. And then Elaine took the air out of it. And then I said to all of them, all 15 people, "You're the directors, you're the choreographers. What do you want to do?" And each AAC device was coming up with more ideas that I could even imagine. And they create this whole thing called Come to the Edge. And they're bringing the audience into their world. And I was facing my own ableism because I was too impatient to wait for them to finish their sentences. And I think it was one guy just says, "Stop finishing my sentences, it's rude." And right away I was facing my own ableism. But I figured the best way to empower people is the more disabled you are, the less power you have in this world. But can you imagine if we could access each other to maybe find the possibilities together? And I was just giving them my power, because that arts hierarchy of me being a choreographer and a dancer is, it can be disempowering to others. But disability is also about time, life expectancy. If there's a good director or choreographer out there that understands what it means to bring out the dancer that is, the actor that is, because not everybody has the gift of 20 years of training, whatever that's supposed to mean. And half the time none of us are aware of our potential, because society and the media is telling us what is beauty. That there's so much talent that gets missed up there because nobody is just seen. So who gets in, who gets out, and why? It's usually the first question I ask.
I have so many questions, but I don't want to hog you because I know there's so many great questions from the audience. But I just want to say, Sarah, before I pass it off to the audience, you've done something really special here by introducing us to Frank and Marcy and Kathleen. They're so articulate with these cool ideas like access, intimacy, and other concepts that are just kind of like the disability aesthetic, just so interesting to think about. But on a more fundamental level, I think we're used as an audience in terms of the arts, we see the final product. We see something that's sort of, canned or we see the performance. We don't often get to see something being workshopped. We don't get to see artists working together. And that's one of the most beautiful things about this film to me, is it feels like a very privileged space to be with Frank and Marcy and Kathleen and her input and the depth of discussion and all of those thoughts and choices behind a decision. It just blew my mind. I really want to thank you for that. Yeah. Sorry, it's not a question. I was getting to ask questions. But yeah, I have a question. How was it like filming and witnessing Frank and Marcy for you?
There's a moment in the film where you can hear Kathleen and I in the background, and we're like, "That was stunning. That was beautiful," And so that, there were so many moments like that throughout rehearsal. I had met Marcy once previously, but not on the dance floor. And of course I've danced with Frank many times, and and I've heard lots of stories about Marcy, and so to see the two of them together was really, really wonderful. And then, I remember Kathleen saying to me during rehearsals, Marcy is incredible. Her skill level is, and she's been dancing about the same amount, I think, but she has her own way of expressing, and it's incredible. I love sort of the creative process behind the scenes. I think it's really important to share that with people and not just the finished product, because it's polished, and I think it does actually a disservice to other artists to not share that, because we can begin to really think, I'm not good enough, because you're comparing the end result to your messy process, which is, it's all messy. It's all messy. And I actually, just a shout out to Dan Levy, because he loves sharing that, and I just saw a video of him recently sharing his messy process. He was gonna give up on his new series, Big Mistakes, because he just couldn't find a way through it. But he shared it online, and it was an incredible moment of vulnerability, and I think that's what this film has, is it shares the vulnerability of the process, and then, I really wanted to include the end result. That was like the whole thing, and show the finished product.
Yeah. It's a great way to do it. Will someone, you'll take my mic and we'll get some comments or questions from the crowd.
Any hands? There
Like you, Beth, I don't really have a question, but I just want to say how incredibly beautiful it is. Just remarkably beautiful. And the intimacy that comes across is just, it's beautiful, it's wonderful. Thank you so much. And I think that this film needs to be shown many other places, not just here.
Yeah, this is the first, with an audience. We did have it was online in Essex, UK, but it was a very, very small. You could see how many people saw it. It was not big at all. So I think, it's just starting, and I do intend to share it on a platform that everyone can eventually, once we do the film festival circuit, because I want everyone to see it.
Thank you both for coming here. This is really special for me, having danced with Frank and having interacted with the two of you in another context, and finding out last weekend you were going to be here. And I remember when I was first learning, and Frank, you were teaching me it was okay to touch and move weight, and just that whole language of how to dance with you and to not be afraid. And I was just picturing, this film shown to wider audiences, and what if this becomes I see it as a way that's very different than the ways we see in many other forms today. And so this way of honoring and respecting and interacting and checking and finding out and communicating, I think that's something that we all need to see images of and then begin to explore and experiment. I love your final comments about dance isn't the center of my life. I am living my life through. Can you say it again, Frank?
Let's see. Dance is not my life, but life is my dance.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. And I just want to let everyone know that Emily was in the short film with Dancing with Frank that helped secure the funding for this larger film. Yeah, she was the first person.
Time for one more question.
Do you ever get able-bodied dancers dancing, or like a collective, or people dancing with people with challenges? Is there connection between the two communities?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Yes, I've actually danced professionally with stand-up and sit-down dancers with different mixed ability companies like Propeller Dance in Ottawa, and recently we did a show at the Betty Oliphant Theatre, and I was working with an able-bodied gentleman, and I was doing all the lifting. He was throwing himself at me, and I was catching him like a baseball, which was kind of fun. That piece was entitled "The Man That Carries Dawn," and I think what I loved about the piece the most is my dance partner Adrian definitely did not treat me like I was fragile. I have the bruises to prove it, and they were good bruises. We danced beautifully and intensely, and he worked with a mixed ability company in Peru, and so he already had experience with sit-down dancers. And I love I love the diverse body universe and bringing them all together, where that transcends age and body shape and all those things. There's something to be said for breaking down that beauty myth and bringing grace and beauty on stage within so-called deviant bodies. And I mean, for as long as I live, I'm going to move. I plan on dancing into my 80s or 100s if I make it that far. I'm not adapting is a beautiful thing, but I think for most able-bodied folk, they're afraid of adapting. They're afraid of transitioning to a mobility device, and it's a natural fear. But if you can just imagine that we're all pre-disabled, every single one of us has these beautiful physical bodies, and we can adapt, and we can create interdependency amongst each other when we need help, and it's okay to ask for help. Even I have to work on that, admitting that I need help when I need help. And I love dance because there's this heartbeat drum that exists. I'm part Mi'kmaq, from Nova Scotia, and I feel very connected to this drum that connects us. And I'm thankful that my dreams have found me and not the other way around, and that they've come true. And that's true richness. It's not really about what's in the bank account now, is it? And, yeah.
But how long did it take you to be able to
Can't hear.
sit?
We can't hear.
Sorry, how long did it take you to be able to sit in a chair and not fear when the back would sit there?
With
Soon as I saw that, that's.
Yeah, it kind of hurts a bit when I'm. Oh, sorry. It kind of hurts a bit, but I'll tell you something that I've been doing all my life.
Okay.
I tend to sit in this position a lot as a dancer, and that was what I was taught, is to align.
Okay.
And so a lot of times to get my center, and underneath my belly is my center. Just because you're chubby doesn't mean you don't have muscles underneath there. And through the years, through the dance technique that I come from, which is the Mayo Donald technique, it's sort of just locking your core.
Okay.
But I've been doing it like since my 20s. So sometimes I just sort of sneak it in. It's like, oh, hi, I'm already. But when I'm lazy, I'm just sort of sitting like this. But yes, there is some pain involved. But I have cerebral palsy and my muscles tighten up a lot. So I have a very high pain threshold. So it's really hard for me to figure out where that threshold is. But I was born that way.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking.
Okay, we haven't been successful in having Frank miss his bus yet. There's probably another 5 minutes. We're just going to break if you wanted to talk to Sarah or Frank, and as they're getting ready, your taxi's coming in about 10 minutes. But thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're so honored that we got to you shared your film with us and you got to be with us for the screening. It's just beautiful. Yeah, what a privilege.